Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about media that I want to talk about. This is me beginning to talk about Malevolent Threshold, the second series of Malevolent, created by Harlan Guthrie, which stars the characters Arthur and John, who go on eldritch, cosmic horror, mystery, adventure, etc. Malevolent Blackstone just finished, about 60-ish episodes, pretty long, pretty good. And Threshold, the second series, is continuing, which is sort of going to be continuing different plot threads from the first series, and then also sort of introducing a new thing, it looks like. I'm not sure. I'm going to be, well, I was thinking how I'm going to cover this series, and I was thinking of doing sort of like what I do with Magnus Protocol, which is making a clump of episodes in one video. So like in Magnus Protocol, I do 4 episodes a group, and then I put out a video about my thoughts, ideas, and theories. So I'm wanting to do a thoughts, ideas, and theories video series for Threshold as it's coming out. However, when Protocol was coming out, which will start coming out at some point in the summer, it was coming out every week. Threshold, Malevolent comes out every month. And so I didn't want to like wait until the 4th episode comes out in 4 months to talk about the first episode. So I'm still not sure how I'm going to be covering this series, but for now, I want to talk about the episode prior, Overture, and then part 1, Dead Man's Mouth. So this will just be me sort of doing this, my thoughts, ideas, and theories for Malevolent Threshold as we go on, giving a recap of what happens and, my thoughts about the future, about what's happening, etc. So starting off, so let me show off. The notebook has some like felt texture, and I got like this gray denim to match like the Threshold look of it. And yeah, so most of the seasons in Malevolent Blackstone, at least, started with this sort of like prologue introduction type episode, pretty short episodes as well. And this one is Overture, which is an introduction to something more substantial, which released March 29th, 2026. Pretty short moment here. We have It's Raining, and this gentleman called Leonard Gilbert is being guided by a gruff man who we will soon learn is called Johnny, into a home. He thinks that he's meeting with a Mr. Sinclair, which was a ruse, because he's actually meeting with Robert Puckett, who wants some mystic help. Robert Puckett says he doesn't believe in mysticism, but he's out of options. And Gilbert realizes that he's the Robert Puckett who owns the entire east side of Arkham. So he's a very powerful man, crime boss type deal. And so he's really nervous about that. And so Robert asks Leonard to help him with, he thinks that someone is following him. He's being followed. And he had his men try to see who's following him, because, he's a rich person, powerful person, dangerous person. So him being followed is not odd, but the people that are guarding him have never found anybody. But he senses some presence, and he thinks the presence is someone from his past. And so Leonard is sort of trying to say, like, he doesn't really have that power to do much. And Puckett is like, you need to do something. You have magic. Do something. And so just so he can get paid, he says to Puckett that he can help him remember more of what it is that he's what is in his past that he has like this memory block of. I can help remove that block. So he hypnotizes him. At first, he tries to do this like show of like, I'm going to hypnotize you with this watch here. It's been in my family for generations. But then Puckett's like, just cut the crap. Just give it to me. I don't care about the presentation. And then he shows him the watch. And there's a little moment here where he shows him the watch, and Puckett asks what the symbol is on the watch. And Leonard says it's gibberish, probably. So that's probably going to be something. He's probably actually holding something eldritch. Anyways, some sort of artifact. And he hypnotizes him. to unlock his memory, and he starts saying some things. He says that there's 4 of them and that they're burying him, a person. And then he says the name, it's very muffled, and Gilbert can hear him like when he goes up, but we cannot. It's not in the transcript. Most of my notes are from the transcript. So don't know what name he said, but he definitely said a name about who is being buried, or just a name in general, I'm not sure. And recognized the name, I think, or at least reacted to it, or it sounded familiar, or something like that. After he says the name, there's some sort of otherworldly sound, and bad sound. And so Gilbert takes him out of the hypnotize, and Puckett's like, oh my god, I do remember now exactly why I'm being followed. And Gilbert is like, did I help? And he's like, no, I remember everything now. You did not help me. But he's still getting paid, sends him away. But before he leaves, Gilbert says, I know someone who can help you with this type of investigation. And he hands him a business card with Arthur Lester, PI, on it. So he gives him our main character's business card and then leaves. This is also where we learn the gruff guy's name is Johnny. And that's when Overture ends. In part 1, Dead Man's Mouthpiece, the description is a new beginning, a familiar place, a strange case, which released April 1st, 2026. It's raining and sort of like directly coming off of Overture. I don't believe it's the same day, but it's raining, and it's in this like house of his. Puckett is woken up by strong knocking on the door, and he goes up and he's trying to ask who's knocking, and whoever's knocking just keeps knocking, doesn't say anything, and so he gets out his gun and shoots through the door to kill whoever's knocking. I don't think there was anybody there. In terms of he accidentally kills someone, you know how that sometimes happens in horror movies. There wasn't anybody there. Shoots the door, and then he calls Johnny because he needs someone to help him with the cleanup. I don't know what that means, if he actually did shoot somebody there, or it's just to clean up the the door that got trashed because it got shot through. But then some entity, I'm calling right now, appears and attacks. There's like sounds of attacking, and Puckett is like calling out for help, to stop, to pleading to not die. And then he screams out in agony, and it cuts to as if Arthur was having a dream of this attack, and Arthur wakes up. I don't know if Puckett died at this moment. I'm gonna say for now he did. I don't know yet. We'll see in part 2 if that changes. But yeah, Arthur wakes up in a car, and he's like, "Where am I?" He's sort of scared about that. John reminds him he's in a car. You're on a case right now. They're staking out Arnett Farm because the farmer, Old Man Arnett, had seen a figure at night, like stalking in the fields, and he thinks that someone is living in the barn because there was a sigil painted on the floor, maybe with blood. And so they're trying to investigate, why is this sigil here, stuff like that. Other farms around have also had their livestock missing, and so they all just called Arthur, be like, hey, figure this out, what's happening. Arthur's sort of dismissive about it. He knows that Old Man Arnett had said that his granddaughter was dating some guy, and so they might just be canoodling at night in secret, and so that might be the thing that he sees, the figure. But they're staking out just in case. And John is a little annoyed here because he's been watching this entire time. It's so boring. Arthur fell asleep, and so he's annoyed that Arthur fell asleep. And we get, I know that this is continuation and it's like a book 2, movie 2, whatever type thing. But he's like, why did you fall asleep? Why'd you let me go? Let me be alone? And Arthur's like, oh, well, let's see. You're the entity. You're a fragment of the King in Yellow that when I opened a book, cursed me. And he sort of like lays out exactly what John is to him in broad terms. And I was like, you don't need this. This feels too forced. But I understand it because it's sort of like, book 2, movie 2, exposition. But yeah, that's just a thing, I guess. I could have done without it. when they talk about like the granddaughter having a boyfriend, it sort of transitions into, what about when Faroe starts dating? And then Arthur's like, oh, don't make me think about that. Because after the events of Malevolent Blackstone, the manager, Nyarlathotep, sent Arthur back to his world and also brought a adult, semi-adult Faroe into his life so that he can live with Faroe after having dealt with her death as a young child. But because of that, there's this big gap of knowledge from when she was a little girl, little baby, to now when she's like probably like 18 years old or something like that. Not sure. We get to mention that she's studying in Miskatonic University, big important location in Lovecraftian stories. Miskatonic University, frequently used in many different cosmic horror settings, not just in Lovecraft, but other cosmic horror author settings, etc. Because they're also in Arkham, also important location in Lovecraftian cosmic horrors. Anyways, Arthur is having difficulty trying not to show that he doesn't know anything about her because there's this huge gap of knowledge. But Faroe is really smart, sharp as a tack, super smart. She's going to catch on. I'm pretty sure she will. He's also, there's a mention here that he's 15 years older than her, which I'm like, okay, him being 15 years old when Faroe was born is plausible. That's a plausible thing to happen. At this point, 1920s, I'm not fully sure, but it does happen. But there's no like discussion further about that. And then John also reminds him that, after this stakeout, they have dinner plans with her. They planned it badly because they should not have done the stakeout because they had the dinner plans already, or vice versa. I forget exactly, but like they got double booked, and so that's going to cause issues. While they're having this conversation, John all of a sudden sees movement. They sneak out into the barn. And there's a moment where Arthur debates about bringing a gun, and I think this is a moment because I have not been able to find the voting statistics, because in Malevolent, Blackstone, and now in Threshold, if you're in the Patreon, you are a voice. On the second tier, you're a voice, so you get to vote on decisions being made in the episode. And I believe this is one of them. I don't know. I've been trying to find the voting. I could not find it, but I have to keep looking. This feels like a vote. Should we bring the gun? Should we not bring the gun? I think majority voted to bring the gun. I think that's a good choice. John's like, why are you bringing the gun? You should not bring the gun. Arthur's like, it's always safe to. But John's like, well, look at all the other cases that we've had that are not anything you didn't need a gun for. I mean, he lists the Garnet case. I believe that's like a jewel. And then he also lists the stained livery case. And then Arthur's like, yes, with Leonard Gilbert, which is the Gilbert from the Overture. So there's the connection there. That's when they work together. And he decides to bring the gun anyways. I assume that's a voting decision. So they sneak into the barn and they find a man who's just super scared. He thinks that someone sent Arthur to confront him, and Arthur calms him down. And he learns that his name is Sam. He's holding a knife and he's like really scared. Arthur convinces him that he's not there working for anybody. He's just trying to figure out why he's at the farm. And there's like a book there, and he showed them a page from the book, which is all bloodstained. And then he says that he wants to stop it, which we don't know what that means, but that's, very eldritch horror there. And there's a moment where, Arthur's trying to read the page and Sam gets a glimpse of his gun. So that increases the tension in that scene. And then John briefly reads the page with some sort of ritual. He doesn't understand what it is. They need more time to read it. And then Arthur's trying to calm him down because Sam sees the gun. So he says, I'm trying to work with you. He leaves the gun on the floor. And he's like, I'm trying to work with you. I can help you stop it or stop him or whatever you need to stop. And so Sam's like, okay. The person he's trying to stop did some terrible things, and he found a way to stop him, which was sacrificing animals. And then John notices that one of the sigils is a heart. And Sam says that he tried animal hearts first, But that didn't work. And then John sees in the shadow there's a body, there's a person there. And so Sam was going to try to kill somebody and use their heart as a sacrifice to stop him. And so Arthur doesn't want him to kill the person. He's still alive. And so there's a split-second decision where Sam goes up to the guy and is about to stab him. And Arthur has to choose either shoot him or tackle him. This seems to be another voting as well. And he decides to shoot him. Clean shot. Arthur has an amazing aim for someone who cannot see. That's muscle memory. And kills Sam. And that's really sad. And so Arthur's like, oh, that feels really bad. John tells him he didn't have any other choice. That's just how it goes. He could have tackled him, but then he could have been hurt. He could have hurt the boy on the floor. They look at the boy on the floor, and it is most likely the boyfriend of the granddaughter that old man Arnett had said before. So he saved that boy's life in exchange for Sam's life, which is weighs heavily on him, which I get and I don't get. It's like, Arthur, you've done a lot already. Yeah, you killed him, and that sucks, but also, like, you needed to protect this boy. Whatever. There's a quick moment where an officer appears and is calling out to whoever's shooting, put their hands up, put the gun down, etc. And Arthur begins to de-escalate, and then the officer comes around, and John recognizes him. It is Michael Callahan, which is just a friend of Arthur. I guess they became acquainted in the police force, because we seem to be a few months after Arthur has come back, and so Arthur is doing the PI stuff, and most of his investigations, as Gilbert had alluded to Puckett, have been dealing with the esoteric, the mysticism, stuff like that, which is why Arthur worked with Gilbert. And Callahan looks at Arthur as sort of like the PI that works with devil worship, devil stuff, demon stuff, and well, it's not that type of supernatural, but basically the supernatural. There's a mention here that Arthur has a nickname, but doesn't talk about they don't name the nickname, but he has a nickname among the other police. And so Callahan is sort of like, well, this sucks, but you had to kill him to save the boy, so we're just gonna have to take your statement about this. Then John's like, ooh, you gotta go get your date with Thoreau because you have dinner with her. And Arthur's like trying to get away, and as he's leaving, Callahan's, you didn't take anything from the crime scene, right? Ugh. And so he did take the page that has a ritual in it, and so John's trying to tell him, do not give him the page, just don't. And Arthur has to be true to his work, and he gives the page to Callahan. I believe that also feels like a voting thing. And so Callahan looks at it and he's like, this is crazy here. And John's like, whoa, he gave it back to you? And so he leaves, and Arthur's like, I had a hunch that Callahan didn't really care about this page. Callahan said if he brought that page, anyone in the precinct would just laugh at it because this is some crazy supernatural conspiracy stuff, so nothing to take credence of. Arthur obviously knows that whatever's on the page is actually real, or at least could be real. So John was like, I'm sorry, I didn't expect that to happen. I wanted you to keep that just in case. And Arthur was like, it was a lucky hunch. We've gotten lucky. And as they're leaving, he also apologizes to John, saying that he will shoulder the responsibility as John does, as in, he will not fall asleep on stakeouts. So, that's a good reconciliation moment. They drive to dinner with Thoreau, and on the drive there, they have like this recap of the big plot points in Malevolent Blackstone, which I'm like, sure, I guess. This is this again. There is a mention as to like what happened to tie things up at the end, because Arthur in the first 3 seasons had this issue about returning to Arkham because he sort of got the hell out of Dodge after John killed both Parker and Eddie in Arthur's apartment complex. So when John possessed Arthur and took his eyes, or sorry, Arthur gifted his eyes, sorry. John had killed Parker and then had Arthur drag the body into the closet. So that was the body there. And then when they go back, this is like the second episode, they go back to the apartment complex to try to find documents. Landlord Eddie finds them. There's also a bunch of police there, so they found the body of Parker, I guess. And then Eddie finds them in the basement and tries to kill him. And then Arthur, it might or may not shoot him. I forget. I think there is a struggle. And then in that struggle, John possesses his left hand, so he can use the left hand, and John chokes Eddie to death. So John killed Eddie and Parker. Those bodies were hanging over Arthur for this entire time, and this is clearing up what happened to that. Apparently, Parker had owed money to some person in power, and Eddie, along with being the landlord, was also the loan shark, the what's the term? The pusher? Person who collected the money. And so when Eddie had confronted Arthur, he thought that Arthur was covering for Parker. He was covering for Parker's dead body, but whatever. And so when Eddie turned up dead, it was explained that Eddie had killed Parker, and then Eddie just died. But the police didn't really care about solving his murder because he was just another criminal. And so it just got filed under unsolved, and no one wants to touch it. And John's a little uneasy about such easy answers. I am too, but that's fine. Makes sense. Arthur says, they got lucky. They got lucky. Let's just have this luck, They go and join Faro at dinner. They have a nice conversation. Faro deduces that Arthur was up in the north because he was wet and his shoes were wet. Before that, he says that she's so good at deducing stuff that we should hire her. And she says, there's only you, because obviously she doesn't know about John. And she's like, because Uncle Peter. And he's like, you're right, I'm sorry. And she's like, what you need to do is pay me to take your messages, because she passed by the office and someone left a message for Arthur. And so he's like, okay. They have this conversation. There's a moment where she do you remember that Halloween, how much I loved Halloween and stuff like that? And he pivots to hide the fact that he doesn't know what she's talking about, because those are false memories of hers. Or are they false memories? Are they memories of a different Faro? I'm not fully sure. But either way, he wasn't there for that mentally, I guess. Physically, maybe. We also get that she is studying astronomy. A really funny moment here. Arthur first says astrology. And then Faro talks about astronomy, how much she likes it, and how beautiful the cosmos are. I know there's going to be a moment where she's trying to talk to Arthur about it, and he's like, he can't know what she's talking about because he can't see. So John's going to be the one to tell him, and then there's going to be that duality of John telling Arthur what to say to his daughter. That's going to happen. I know. I feel that. I feel that's going to happen. She wants to sneak him into the observatory that she's been studying at, and she's like, you have to be there on time because he got here late to the dinner. You have to be here on time to be able to do that. He's like, I will not miss it for the world. He's going to miss it for the world. She leaves. As she's leaving, John sees that she forgot her book. So Arthur gets it back to her. It's a puzzle book. Torquemada puzzle book is what it's called. I saw this Tumblr post that I'm not going to try to extrapolate from, but this is it. Something about Kane's jawbone. If you remember, in DCL Coda, there's a jawbone on Arthur's desk in a jar that is Kane's removed from episode part 60, the final act. So, because when Arthur attacked him, he ripped off a piece of his bone. Whatever. I'm not going to try to speculate any further than this Tumblr post. Shout out to this Tumblr post. Anyways, as she's leaving, she says, just respond to the message from a Robert who sounded like he was in a tizzy. So maybe this is before or after he gets attacked. I'm still not sure. I'm keeping him as dead until proven alive. And as she's leaving, she says that she doesn't understand why Arthur's called his nickname. Then she leaves. And then we get the name of the nickname, which is Dead Man's Mouthpiece, because there is a discussion about how Arthur has been really good in his investigations because he has the power, John has the power to touch the dead body and see what killed them last. And so there's a conversation of like, it's a combination of that, John's eyes, Arthur's intellect that helps solve the crimes. And so he's called Dead Man's Mouthpiece because he's able to solve a lot of crimes, murders, because he can just be the mouthpiece for the dead men. And so as Fro leaves, John starts talking about something. I didn't mark it down. But as he's talking, we hear the sound of a lighter flicking again and again, and Arthur's breathing gets a little heavier, and as John talks, his voice becomes a little distant. And then John is like, "Hey, Arthur, you good?" And Arthur wakes up, kind of, or like focuses, and he's like, "Yeah, sorry, what was it?" And that's odd. Don't know what that means. That's going to happen. That's going to come back at some point. Don't know what that means. John reads the message, and it's an address for Robert Puckett. Both of them don't recognize the name. And they think instead of going to, because he needs to go to the precinct to give his statement to Callahan, and maybe with the body, something, they mentioned the body. I don't think they need to touch the body because they know who killed Sam. Whatever. Before going to the precinct, they decide, let's just stop by the message, Robert Puckett, to see what it is that he wants to kill some time. It's too early for Callahan to have returned to the precinct anyways. And so they just head off to see Robert Puckett. And that's the end. Hello, Editing David here. I was able to find the votes from the Patreon, so I will tell them to you right now. In chapter 1, they voted between bring the gun or leave the gun, so I was right about that vote. 324 voices voted to bring the gun. That beat out 259 that voted to leave the gun. Chapter 2, the winner was Shoot Sam, Save the Young Man, with 280 voices voting for that. And then the other choice was Spare Sam, Leave the Young Man to Die, 245. That's a pretty close vote. Chapter 3 was Give Callahan the Page, 343 people voted for that, versus Keep the Page Secret, 217. Chapter 4, Tell the Truth, 271, beat out Obscure the Truth, 242. I assume that's in conversation with Farrow. And then chapter 5, there's no vote. They just went straight to Robert Puckett, and so there was no vote there. So I was pretty good with guessing which votes were which. It was pretty well telegraphed in the episode. So not sure if I'll be able to get the voting so quickly as I'm editing it. Maybe it just appeared today or earlier today or later yesterday, I don't know. But I hope to have the votes for the rest of the episodes as they come out. And yeah, that was the first 2 episodes of Malevolent, Threshold, Overture, and Dead Man's Mouthpiece. I know the flicking of the lighter, that's definitely something Eldridge. I feel like that's something connected with the manager. Not fully sure. Again, not going to speculate further about Farrow's puzzle book. I know that's too much speculation for me right now. And the whatever it is that is haunting Puckett, whether he's alive or not, Arthur's probably going to show up and find his dead body. Maybe. That's going to be a storyline as well, but also I know that the big storyline is where's Noel, because Noel disappeared, and in episode 57, The Fallen Seed, Lorik mentioned that Noel was in Threshold. A threshold, the threshold, just threshold. We don't know what that is. We have to find Noel. And so for me, the big thing about this season is where's Noel, 1, and then 2, something with the King in Red, because that's also a thread that's flying around. You know what I mean? But otherwise, this was a pretty fine episode. just establishing things. I think they wasted too much time trying to rehash, trying to recap what happened in the past. That just happens with sequels like this. And so I think I'm just going to do a part 2, just one video as well. It'll be shorter than this one because there's only one episode that I'm talking about, and just go from there. Just keep talking about the season as it airs. Usually, at least with Blackstone, the seasons came in groups of 20, so that's about a year. Ugh. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Protocol will be coming out at some point as well, and so that will be also something to keep up with. But I want to start talking about Malevolent as it comes out. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for part 2 whenever that comes out, probably at the beginning of next month. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends. Let me know what you think. Do not forget to be passionate, and I'll see you later.